Has President Emerson Mnangagwa just been dragged into one of the most important constitutional battles of his presidency? A legal challenge now before Zimbabwe's Constitutional Court is raising explosive questions about executive power, constitutional protections, and the independence of state institutions. At the center of the storm is former Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission chairperson Jessie Majome. What was presented as a simple reassignment is now being described by critics as something far more serious. Some are calling it an unconstitutional removal from office. Others say it could become a landmark case that reshapes how independent commissions operate in Zimbabwe. And now, many Zimbabweans are asking, did the president act within the constitution, or has a dangerous constitutional line been crossed? Stay tuned, because this story could have major implications for Zimbabwe's democracy. And before we continue, please subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications for daily Zimbabwe and Africa political news. Let's get into it. Zimbabwe's political and legal landscape has been shaken following a constitutional court challenge against President Emerson Mnangagwa over the reassignment of Jessie Majome. The controversy began when Chief Secretary to the President and Cabinet, Dr. Martin Rushwaya, announced that Majome had been moved from her position as chairperson of the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, commonly known as the ZHRC, to become a commissioner in the Public Service Commission. At first glance, the announcement appeared to be a routine administrative decision, but almost immediately, questions began to emerge. Was this truly a reassignment, or was it actually a removal disguised under a different name? The legal challenge was brought by pro-democracy activist Alan Chipoi. His argument is straightforward but potentially explosive. He claims that what the government calls a reassignment is in reality a removal from office. And according to him, that removal was carried out without following the constitutional procedures required by law. If his argument succeeds, the implications could extend far beyond this single case. To understand why this matter is so important, it helps to understand the role of the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission. The ZHRC is one of Zimbabwe's independent constitutional commissions. These institutions were created to operate independently from political influence and provide oversight in areas that affect democracy, governance, and citizens' rights. The Constitution gives them special protections precisely because they are supposed to remain independent from political pressure. That independence is what now lies at the heart of this dispute. Supporters of the legal challenge argue that constitutional safeguards exist for a reason. According to them, the chairperson of an independent commission cannot simply be moved whenever the executive wishes. Instead, they say there are specific procedures that must be followed. These procedures include investigations, tribunals, and formal processes designed to protect the independence of constitutional institutions. Critics argue that bypassing these safeguards could create a dangerous precedent. Attorney General Virginia Mabiza has strongly defended the government's position. According to her, there is a major difference between reassignment and removal. She argues that removal usually involves misconduct, incapacity, or serious wrongdoing. A reassignment, on the other hand, simply involves moving someone from one constitutional role to another. From the government's perspective, Majome remains within constitutional structures and therefore has not been removed in the legal sense. Supporters of the government's position say this is an administrative decision that falls within presidential authority. But critics remain unconvinced. They argue that labels do not matter. What matters is the effect of the action. Their question is simple. If someone is no longer performing the role they were appointed to carry out, does it matter whether the government calls it a reassignment or a removal? For them, the answer is no. They believe constitutional safeguards cannot be avoided simply by changing terminology. The case has become even more controversial because of the timing. Before her reassignment, the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission had reportedly expressed concerns about aspects of Constitutional Amendment Bill No. 3, known as CAB 3. That has led some observers to speculate about whether the two events are connected. However, no official evidence has been presented proving such a connection. Government officials maintain that the reassignment was lawful and administrative in nature. Nonetheless, the timing continues to fuel debate. Legal analysts say this case could become one of the most significant constitutional disputes in recent years. The reason is simple. It is not only about Jessie Majome. It is about the future independence of all constitutional commissions. If the Constitutional Court rules in favor of the president, critics fear it could allow future governments to move commissioners around more easily. If the court rules against the president, it could strengthen constitutional protections and limit executive authority. Either outcome would have major consequences. The controversy has also revived broader questions about constitutionalism in Zimbabwe. Many legal experts argue that democratic systems depend not only on elections but also on strong institutions. Independent commissions play an important role in protecting citizens, monitoring government conduct, and ensuring accountability. When disputes arise over the independence of those institutions, people naturally begin paying attention. That is exactly what is happening now. Political observers say the case comes at a particularly sensitive time. Zimbabwe is already debating CAB 3. Questions about governance, constitutional reform, and democratic accountability dominate public discussion. Against that backdrop, a constitutional challenge involving the President and the Human Rights Commission carries enormous political significance. The stakes are high, and the outcome could influence future debates about executive power. For now, all eyes are on the Constitutional Court. Will the judges agree that Majome was merely reassigned, or will they conclude that constitutional safeguards were bypassed? That decision could shape how independent commissions operate for years to come. One thing is certain. What started as a personnel announcement has evolved into a major constitutional battle. And regardless of the outcome, the case has already sparked an important national conversation about power, accountability, and the rule of law. Zimbabweans across the political spectrum will be watching closely because the final verdict may not only determine Jessie Majome's future, it may also define the future relationship between the presidency and independent constitutional institutions. Do you think Jessie Majome was reassigned or effectively removed from office? Should independent commissions have stronger constitutional protections? And what impact could this case have on Zimbabwe's democracy? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this report, please subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications for daily Zimbabwe and Africa political news updates.